what's happening?
Scotty Jr. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you?
Sorry about the delay there.
Not a problem.
I've got Jason Rona with us here.
Hey, what's up, Jason?
How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing great.
We're eating some cookies right now, Adam.
Alrighty.
I just handed Jason some strawberry shortcake cookies. Here, I'll give you one, Adam. Try it out.
Yeah, you should have sent me some.
My girlfriend just. What are you talking about? I'm handing it over to you right now.
Alrighty.
We're in the same studio.
I was in the next room.
That's right.
He was in the green room. We don't have nothing in that green room.
He was in area 22.
Yeah. I'm in area 8.
That's right. Area 8. That's a good one.
Yeah, so what's new with you guys?
Well, just recording this little thing we do every week.
Gotcha.
You guys have been a little busy over there at Horizon PLR.
Yeah, definitely. Staying super busy.
I announced that you were going to be on the show, and I asked the fans to send in their questions. And I think the number one question still to this week was about the four-wheel drive car.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm in area 8, so they don't let me see what goes on with the electric stuff.
Don't you have the script? You don't have the script in front of you there, though? We don't comment on speculation and rumors or something?
We're always working on new products and trying to develop, better and innovative vehicles, and I have to wait to see what's in the works.
Love it.
That was it. That's what we were looking for. Yeah. So it should be nice to see the new car.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Anyway, what was the Gotti? You had some more questions there for Adam. You said about the race going on this weekend.
Well, yeah, the second biggest question was, Adam, why aren't you over at the Neo race?
I was planning on it basically all year, and then just some things came up as far as scheduling and testing, and it just the timing and dates didn't work out with it being such a long event. And we have Darren and Miguel and a number of our drivers in Europe that were able to go and attend, and also just with a number of the U.S. guys not going. It's an amazing event. I love going to the Neo Buggy race, just with scheduling and things that needed to be tested and my responsibilities here in the office. It was totally my decision, but better for me to stay home and get the things done that I needed to work on. So.
Well, what really happened is the scheduling conflict with being on the show.
Yeah, exactly. That too.
Way to go, Gotti.
But you said I think a lot of fans were saying, like, man, he's on a hot streak. He come off the Nationals with the win. You think you'd want to go over there and just see, what you can do?
Yeah, definitely. The Neo, like I said, it's always such an amazing race, and the one downside to it is it's always so cold. And with it being later in the year, looking forward to going over there and it being a little bit warmer. And again, that was pretty much the plan all along. And just as it got closer, and just a lot of the things that I needed to take care of here in the office. I'm sure I could have made it happen, but there's a lot more races coming up, here domestically. So it was just better for me to stay home and make sure I get, take care of the responsibilities I have here in the office.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what Gotti exactly wanted to get into, but I was going to just kind of ask Adam, like, sort of in a compact version, how he got into this and where, taking it all the way to being there with PLR and Horizon. Can you kind of give us a little update, Adam, how you got where you are right there?
Yeah, actually, I grew up in Michigan, but then I moved to South Carolina when I was 9. Started racing locally, mainly in Savannah, Georgia. That was our closest local track, about an hour from where I lived. Always ran associated stuff early on. was kind of funny because a number of the guys at the local track, would always joke and, tell me, leave the dark side. And, I was obviously on a really strict budget, being a young kid, mowing lawns, doing whatever I could to just get to the track. So, I kind of stuck it out for a few years and running the associated stuff. I didn't run for them. It's just, the vehicles that I ended up getting for some reason. And then eventually I borrowed a buddy's low-C truck and really liked it. It kind of suited my driving, I guess you could say, and ended up buying that truck from him and then just kind of slowly converting over to low-C stuff. And, just attended regionals and state championships. And for me, I was fortunate because at that time, Savannah actually hosted 3 Roar Nationals, one in, I think, 91, 92, and maybe 95 or somewhere right around there. And I used to go to Winter Champs every year in Tampa. So, I was able to go to a few fairly large races without having to travel too far, and met the guys from Low-C and TLR and at the Winter Champs in, I believe it was 94, maybe it was Roar Nationals in 94 at Lake Park. Actually had a horrible weekend, but met Richard Trujillo and Jack Johnson and all the guys, and they basically were like, well, give us a call next week. I had sent in a resume and stuff like that, and got put on the team in 94 and have, been here ever since, 19 years. And then in 2000, I was living back in Michigan, going to college, working for my dad, servicing waste oil furnaces, and then going to college at night, racing on the weekends, still trying to attend as many of the big races as I could around my school and work schedule, and, got offered a job to come out here and work for TLR and kind of help boost or get their nitro program going. And, I went for it, and that's where I am today. So loving every minute of it.
I actually raced Adam a few times at the Georgia State. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How'd you do?
Back then, I was probably racing stock most of the time, and Jason was, more the modified guy. I would say, maybe more towards the late 90s. I had started racing modified, and we probably raced together a number of times. But yeah, we used to battle.
The one year I remember was, we used to go there every year, and it was like every year we would go later and later to practice, because it was like we would go up and I would do pretty well, and then actually what's funny is the guy that works for you guys now, Mike Mellon, was a friend of mine, and we drove up to the race together, but we drove up there with like no practice. So, and you're like kicking my ass in modified trucks, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, who is this Adam Drake guy? And I think I ended up, like, since I had triple mains, I think I ended up winning, but I was just like, I was telling Mike in the pits afterwards, I'm like, we can't come up here with no practice anymore. This isn't going to work. I'm like, these guys are dialed now.
That's awesome.
So then, how long was it when you won that Reedy truck race? That's kind of when I remember things really making a big difference for you.
Yeah, that was 1999. I actually started racing gas truck like just a little bit before that, and Columbus used to have the CRCRC race every year, and the local club, we would go down and race electric, but the gas truck program was always really big, like 3 or 4 heats of gas truck, and it was pretty much dominated by Associated. So I had called Richard when I believe it was the GTX came out, and I was like, hey, I would like to get one of those. I think it'd be cool to have someone running the Losi truck down there and helping, the couple guys that have them. And so I got one, had no idea what I was doing with, anything nitro. I just bought a dynamite engine from the local shop, and Richard Saxon. I mean, everyone came to the Columbus race that year in January. And again, I had no clue what I was doing. But the Columbus race, it was kind of all about, having your tires broke in and sauced right. And I knew what to do from running electric there. So that first year I ended up TQing and winning gas truck. So everyone at Losi was, all excited and, thinking I'm this big gas guy, and they're like, we want you to come out to the Silver State. And I'm like, okay, I had never even driven a gas truck outside. I had only driven it in Columbus. I came out for that, and then shortly after that went to the Reedy truck race kind of as the gas truck guy, and went to the Reedy truck race and struggled all week in gas truck and qualified third in electric and ended up winning. I believe it was like a 4-way tie between Kinwald, Billy Easton, Jimmy Babcock, and myself. And none of us really remembered what the throwout was because we had like 2 good scores and then a bad one. And I was just kind of packing everything up, and I was staying with Gil O.C. Jr., and I'm packing up, taking my tires off and stuff. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just packing up so, we can get out of here when it's done. And he's like, we may need to stick around a little bit. You need to put your tires back on your truck for photos. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you talking about? And, he was actually the one who told me that I won before, Jimmy had even announced it or anything like that. So that was definitely kind of the kickoff race, or I guess what you could say, kind of changed it from more of just a fun hobby to, potentially turning into a job opportunity for me.
Yeah, it was. I remember being there. It was an awesome race, and that was when. Were you still using race prep stuff at the time? Yeah.
I used race prep motors and Novak electronics. But yeah, it was still with race prep. Wow. Yeah, I actually still have that truck at home. I raced it a bunch afterwards, but like I had saved the body from that race, and after the double XT was done and we got triple XTs, I had cleaned it up and got it hanging on the wall at home.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that paint job from?
That all kind of like started from the whole like race prep deal. I used to race a lot with Pat Rossiter and Mike Dunn and all those guys, and it kind of originally started as like the race prep colors, and then just kind of slowly evolved just from having different painters over the years, everyone just kind of putting, their own touches on it. It's kind of changed, and now Upgrade does all the wraps and graphics for all my bodies and stuff. And but yeah, it's I've had it for quite some time.
So you went you're running a lot of electric, then you became the gas truck guy, and then you started running electric, or not electric, but nitro 8 scale. How'd you get into 8 scale?
Well, it started, I got a car from Kyosho in like early 2000. Josh Cyril had actually just quit running for Great Plains, and he talked to John Stokes and said, hey, there's a kid here in Michigan that, goes to a lot of the gas races, and, I'm no longer going to use my car. Do you have a problem if I give, my old car to him? So John allowed him to do that, and this was right before the Columbus race that year, and so I ran it there in Columbus, and then I went to the Silver State a couple months later, and ran the car there and met Jay Halsey, which him and Mike Dunn from Race Prep were working together, and right before the World Championships in 2000, they just basically hit me up and asked if I would, be willing to run for them and be a part of their team. And so I did that, and I raced for Jay for, I think it was like 7 years, almost 7 years, before TLR decided to work on and develop the 8. So, still have a good relationship with Jay to this day, talk to him on a regular basis. And, but that's kind of what got me into 8 scale. I mean, back when, in the gas truck days, gas truck was pretty much the premier class. I mean, at least that's how I kind of always viewed it. The 8 scale cars weren't as durable, didn't handle as well. It was kind of 8 scale was a secondary class. But obviously the times have changed and cars have gotten better and more durable, and 8 scale's taken over.
When did you guys start working on the development of the 8 scale buggy platform?
It was like, I don't remember the dates exactly, but it had to have been like really early 2005, maybe end of 2004. We had kind of talked and, played around with the idea as 8 scale became more and more popular. And then Yuka Jr. got more involved with 8 scale racing, and Yuka attended a couple Euros and things like that. But when we got serious about, talking and working on developing something ourselves, it had to have been, like I said, probably late 2004, early 2005.
There's been a little bit of debate over time of who's kind of responsible for the design of that particular car. I mean, who are you giving the credit to? Besides yourself, on that particular car.
I mean, it was definitely a team effort. I mean, Yuka Sonari was the engineer on the project. He's the one who basically sat at the computer and designed it. As far as the testing, development, and input for the car, that was basically Gil Ossie Jr., Yuka, and myself that did, the running. At the time, Yuka was back and forth between Finland and California, so he would design stuff. We would rapid prototype it. Junior and I would build it up, assemble it, take it apart, see how things fit, just how things worked as far as ease of maintenance, taking things in and out. I mean, it was definitely a group effort, but I would say the three main people that were involved with the 8 in the very beginning was Yuka Jr. and myself.
Was there a lot of variations of that design along the way, or did you pretty much have a sort of a clear path of where you were going?
I mean, we had a pretty clear path of what we wanted, but then once you get a running sample, things change quite a bit. We did have a good baseline. I mean, I guess, the 8 was somewhat based, or the idea was like, man, if we can take a double X4 and make it bigger, it's going to be pretty good. But there was still a lot of testing involved, and I remember a number of the things that, we prototyped and had, and that just didn't work. So we had to go a different route. And then just some things we learned along the way where it kind of sparks other ideas or kind of changes your path a little bit. So it's with development, until you get out and run it, you can think about it in your head and, oh, this is going to be cool, or this is going to work really good. But once we got out and ran, we did have to make some pretty substantial changes.
I mean, you look at the car, at this point, you guys are, you went from the 1.0, which was, I'll call that the Travis Amescua TQ car, right? Because that's when you guys went to the Nationals in North Carolina, and he TQ'd all 4 rounds. That's like the 1.0 version, and the 2.0 version's the the car that Truey TQ'd the Worlds with, right?
Yeah.
That was in North Carolina. And then now you're on the 3.0, which you won the Roar Nationals with just recently. But are you surprised that the car is really, I don't know, done as well as it has, or might be the best 8-scale platform ever?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm surprised by it. I mean, I see and know how much work goes into it. I mean, granted, all the other companies are working hard too, but with being here and being hands-on, I know how much effort goes into trying to make that platform successful. I mean, early on, you question, man, are we crazy? We're going a different direction than what most of the cars were at that time. And I think that's kind of changed, a number of the 8-scale cars over the past few years. At the time when the 8 came out, the big thing in 8-scale was, just having a car that was durable and surviving a 45-minute final, you were good. Where, I mean, we came out with a car that was just lighter, more nimble, jumped really well, and that's kind of forced, the competitors at the time to rethink, what at the time was their current platforms. And then, tracks have changed and the kind of the race pace has changed. So that's why we've had to make changes ourselves to kind of evolve and change with the times to make our car maybe not as nimble feeling, have a little more grip and stability to be able to push it harder, to be competitive with the other cars on the market. So, with the team we have and the amount of work that, I see that we put in day to day, I'm very excited and happy, that we've had the success that we have, but I wouldn't say, that I'm necessarily surprised because, I know that we work very hard at it.
Yeah, we had a question from a listener, Sal in Colorado. He's on the fence on. He has a chance of getting a good deal on a 2.0, but he says I'm on the fence of either getting a 2.0 or saving up and getting a 3.0.
I mean, the 2.0 is a good car too. I mean, it's not that just because we came out with a new car that the older version is now no good or not competitive, but to be able to get more up-to-date setups and kind of be in the mix with the direction that we're going with newer products, the 3.0 is the way to go. It's definitely a car that you can push and drive a lot harder, jumps and lands better. But again, the 2.0 is still a good car today. It's durable, it's reliable. But I'm glad I have a 3.0 and I don't have to make that decision.
I mean, what I notice about that kind of stuff is anytime you're trying to decide about a kit price, I think you have to look at it. It's the least of your concerns in the grand scheme of things for price.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, what are we talking about? Let's just say the 8. What's the street price of an 8 3.0?
$600.
So if it's $600, but maybe you can get a smoking deal on a $400 2.0, then we're talking about the $200. But if you just have to put gas in your car to go drive there, you got to get tires to put on your car, race entry fee. In the grand scheme of things, $200 isn't a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you have to look at things that way, I always say, don't cheap out on your kit, just save a few bucks. Because it's, in the end, in this hobby, it's a great hobby, but you're going to spend some money.
Yeah,
and,
yep, absolutely.
So you might as well do it right.
Yep, that's a very good point.
Good job, Jason.
I'm sold. Get the 3.0. I
gotta give everybody the sales pitch.
I mean, it's totally true, though. I mean, when you figure, you put a tank of gas in your car to go drive, to get to the track for the weekend, and you get a new set of tires, and you get a gallon of fuel. That the difference that he's going to save on buying a 2.0 versus 3.0, you're going to be a lot happier having the latest and greatest thing out there. Versus saving that little bit of money. Because, I mean, let's face it, a new car will last a long time. So over the span of the life of that vehicle, you're not talking that much of a difference.
And I like when people start with a fresh car, because I don't like when you inherit somebody else's problems.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I see so many times people that race by us, and they're like, "Well, I got this brand new B44 off of eBay," and I'm like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
And you see it right away, and you're just like, "Oh, geez." And it's like the guy can't even finish a qualifier because, it's just you inherited somebody else's problem.
Yeah, you want the full experience of, opening the kit and seeing how things are packaged and knowing that it's built right and it's new, is something already bent, or you just don't get the same experience as if it was new.
Yeah. Yeah, like, we got one of the 3.0s at the shop, and we were playing with it, and I'm playing with the shock towers because we were working on some carbon fiber towers for it, and I'm just like, oh, this is nice how this little plastic insert sits in the shock tower, and and like, you're kind of geeking out about all the little features, and it's tough to do that when you buy the pre-built hammered one.
Yeah.
Well, there's your answer, Sal. Of course, we don't know what kind of deal he's getting. Maybe he's getting a real good deal on a 2.0. He didn't say. Jason, you got anything else there, or do you want me to skip around on these?
Yeah, skip around with some questions. I mean, I can keep going, but questions would be good.
Nathan Ong asked, could 110 scale gas truck ever make a comeback, Adam?
I wish that it could. I know that may sound kind of strange to some people, but to me, those were some of the funnest days. Like, the thing with gas truck is, I mean, they needed to be more durable than what they were. But on the other hand, because you had to kind of be careful and, not hit something too hard, or you would pop a ball cup off or something like that, it kind of taught driver etiquette. I don't know. I really miss gas truck. I mean, I love 8 scale and being able to just push it, and there basically be no fear of really breaking anything. But gas truck was a really, really good stepping stone class for nitro, because, right now, there's different classes as far as, sportsman, intermediate, and expert, but there's really no stepping stone. It's not like there's a stock 8 scale and then a modified 8 scale. I mean, you go into the shop and regardless of your skill level, you can buy the fastest engine, the highest nitro content fuel, and go out, and it can be discouraging because it's, you have the best of the best, but your skill level doesn't quite, meet that same level as the product. And with gas truck, it kind of, gets your feet wet. It's, obviously cheaper engines, tires, fuel, things like that. But it teaches you the basics of tuning an engine, learning the clutch and setting up the clutch, and also just kind of creates, some driver etiquette, because you can't just go out and, because you see a top guy jump in some triple, just give it a handful of throttle and get over it. And gas truck, you do that and you would spin out before you hit the jump. So, I mean, as far as gas truck goes, I mean, I think it would be really cool for it to come back, but I think in order for that to happen, 2 or 3 of the manufacturers would have to get together and, basically re-release or relaunch gas truck together, and I don't see that happening. I think if just TLR or just Associated came out with a new gas truck, it wouldn't really do anything unless it had competition. But definitely had a lot of good times running gas truck, and it would be really cool to to see it come back. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Huh, okay. We're gonna try something a little different here too. We're gonna try and see if we can patch in a caller.
Okay, that'll work.
Let's see if this caller's on the line here. Are you there, caller?
Yeah.
There we go. State your name, where you're from, and question for Adam.
Yeah, Mitch Coppola from Kenosha, Wisconsin. I think just got caught you talking about gas truck, but if Adam ever does 10 scale anymore, or in the near future, would he do 10 scale?
Yeah, I still do a little bit of 10 scale, not much. Especially because the weather's generally so nice in Southern California. I like to go outdoors, and my responsibilities at work are to focus on the nitro stuff. But when the weather's bad, I do have a 22. I do still run it from time to time, just locally. Also a little bit of four-wheel short course, so Rhonda and I can get out and bang doors with one another a little bit at IARC and some of the other local tracks. But yeah, I love running 10 scale. I wish, I had more time to do it, but with my schedule and how much I travel for 8 scale, it just doesn't leave a whole lot of time for it. But, I definitely miss running 10 scale electric. That's, where I started and what I've had a lot of fun running.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had a few questions through email about that, like if you ever plan on getting back in the 10 scale. So pretty well summed that up right there. But
yeah, I actually, when I first came to work for Horizon, I did a lot of both. But years ago, there was, 3 or 4 major electric races, and pretty much the same for nitro. So it was a lot easier to kind of go back and forth and do both. But now with me attending so many smaller or big regional nitro races, there's just so many races nowadays that it's just better for me to focus on one and try to do the best job that I can instead of bouncing back and forth and trying to prepare everything.
I know Mayfield tells the story occasionally. He's like, I remember this year Adam came out to the AZ States and just kicked our ass in electric. He's like, I don't know how it happened or what I was doing. He goes, but he just destroyed us.
It was kind of funny because like Travis Amescu at the time, he was kind of our electric guy, and then I was the nitro guy, and Travis was going to the race and, just basically twisted my arm, convinced me to go out there. And, for me, it was just more of a fun, laid-back weekend because I had kind of started to slow down with running electric. And, SRS is obviously Mayfield's home track and has had a lot of success there. And we had some pretty good races, but yeah, that was actually one of my last electric races, and went there and everything went well and ended on a high note, and I'm like, that's enough for me.
Yeah. Caller, do you have any other questions for Adam or Jason?
Yeah, that was it. Just, appreciate your time, and thanks for answering the question.
No problem, anytime.
Thank you.
How do you like that, Jason?
That was pro.
Starting to learn how to patch these calls in. I think that's how he disconnected us earlier. I was trying to. This is the first time on the show, Adam. You answered a call-in question there, right?
Very cool.
I had a question from Andrew in Maine, touching on the electric part there that you were talking about. Do you have any input at all? He's asking. Like, for instance, he mentions here the 2.0. Do you have any input at all as far as the 2.0 or any new car kits on the electric side?
Like I didn't do any testing or development with the 2.0, but I obviously talk with the guys, engineers, project managers, and just the drivers in general. And if they have questions, concerns, or they're looking for the car to do something better, I try to help out or give my 2 cents, I should say. But I don't go out with them and do the testing and development for the electric stuff. But if there is something that I can help with, or that I remember from years ago that we maybe switched from this material to that, and I do try to help out with that, but it's very limited on the electric side.
Brad Shearer asks, have you helped at all with the development of the new four-wheel drive buggy?
Which four-wheel drive buggy?
I'm got to sift through these four-wheel drive questions.
I got a few more while you're looking those up. I've been writing stuff down here kind of as we're going, and one of them I wanted to bring up, I guess I was at the top of the list here, was if you could just talk about Rhonda a little bit and her racing and how you guys kind of share that common hobby.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun being able to share a hobby that we both kind of grew up enjoying from little kids till now. It's kind of funny because I think a lot of people think Rhonda and I started dating, got married, and I got her into racing, and that's not the case at all. She actually started racing before me. Obviously, she grew up in California. I grew up in Michigan and South Carolina. But the cool thing is, we met through racing, racing locally here in Southern California, doing Saturday series and, club racing at the Dirt and Hemet. We met, became good friends, and eventually, started dating, got married, and now, we're able to travel and go to a number of the local and regional races together. And, she does like Nitro Challenge, Silver State, Nationals, things like that if they're on the West Coast. So it's pretty awesome to be able to, not only do it together, but have someone that understands, the long nights in the garage or late nights at the track, trying to figure stuff out. She understands, like, that's just what I'm all about. And, it's pretty cool. We're a good team and, have a lot of fun, racing together.
Lots of times when you're at some of those travel races, I'll go in the trailer and I see you working on your cars, 2 or 3 cars, and then you're, helping her with hers. And I always say that you make us all look bad, like wrenching on all those cars, helping her out. She's doing well with her racing. I'm like, man, this guy Adam is just killing us.
Yes. Sometimes I'm killing myself when things aren't going well, but again, a lot of fun. I mean, it's for me, it's more nerve-wracking, like watching or pitting for her, because I want for her to enjoy herself and to do the best that she can. So it's funny, a lot of times, she'll be working on something or making a change, and I'll just basically grab it from her. Let me do it, and I want it to be the best that it can be. But a lot of fun. But sometimes at the major races, it can be a little overwhelming at times. It's funny when, some of our team members, they just want to run nitro and buggy, like at Nitro Challenge, for example. I'm like, well, why don't you run e-buggy too? Oh, it's just too much. And I'm like, you're talking to the wrong person if you're saying it's too much, when I'm there running all 3, and then Rhonda's running 2 or 3, and then helping with the team stuff. And, but I don't know. I think that's just how I am. I'm used to staying busy and having a lot to do, and that's just kind of how I am and what works for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think lots of times what I see is people don't. You're seeing it as an opportunity to run an extra class, because at races like that, there's not additional. There's not a lot of practice, and then tire testing and the track changes, and you're seeing it as an opportunity where most people are like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people, like, especially at Nitro Challenge this year when, we got 5 minutes of practice in truck and no practice in buggy. I heard it so many times, like, man, I should have ran e-buggy. And it's like, why wouldn't you run it anyway? Like, just like you said, I mean, testing tires, just more laps on the track. I definitely look at it as an opportunity instead of more work. I look at it as it's going to help me in the other two classes that, are more the main focus classes, but, everything's still important. If we make those vehicles or sell tires or motors or batteries or speed controllers for those vehicles, it's all important. So
very true.
All right, let's skip around here. A few more questions. Jason, you must have been looking at my questions. Mitchell Capillia asked, "What is it like being married to Rhonda?" You already answered that. There you go, Mitchell.
I have a question about it. Kind of around there is the. I noticed on Facebook you got a new dog.
Yeah, Harry.
Harry. I think those are like the coolest dogs. It's a husky, right?
It's actually a Malamute. We have a purebred husky, and then we had a husky Malamute mix. That was the son of the purebred husky that we have, and he passed away 2 weeks after the Nationals. Actually, the Sunday of AMS when I got home, and Rhonda had a purebred Malamute when she was young, and she's always talked about, I want a Malamute, whenever the time comes when we need another dog. And when our dog passed away, obviously we were sad and bummed out, and so was the other dog that we had. So that was Rhonda's anniversary present, a new Malamute puppy.
Harry.
Yep.
Cool.
Listener Joe Ivo asked, "Who, in your personal opinion, is the most underrated off-road racer?"
Most underrated. I don't know. I mean, it's in off-road. I don't know. It put me on the spot. I need to think about it a little bit. I don't know. I would say someone who kind of flies under the radar, doesn't get a ton of attention, up until recently, has been Dakota. He has his nicknames, the Phenom and this and that, but, a lot of guys, are like, yeah, he's got a lot of speed, but he can't hold it together and this and that. And then obviously he proved a number of those people wrong, just recently at the Nationals. But, I guess he would be the first one that kind of pops in my head. He's obviously won a number of races, before two-wheel drive at the Roar Nationals a couple weeks ago. But this is the first, major in a premier class races that he's won. He's won Cactus and things like that in four-wheel short course, and won the 8-scale electric nationals, the week before the 10-scale nationals. But I think, from watching like at the Reedy race and some of the other races earlier in the year, it's, he's able to qualify well, but doesn't really get the respect in the mains that I think a lot of times he deserves. He kind of gets beat around. He's kind of the new guy, up towards the front. So, he does get a lot of credit, but as being a top guy capable of winning the races, Dakota would be the one that pops into my head first.
Actually, Adam, just say Joe Ivo is the most underrated off-road racer.
Joe Ivo is the most underrated racer.
There you go. That's the answer I think he was looking for. Jason Rona. Maybe Jason Rona.
That's right.
So yeah, Dakota next week on the show.
Very cool.
We all heard who was the most overrated.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Who was that again?
Go ahead, Jason.
Our old,
Set it up.
Our old buddy Matt. coming on for an episode. He was giving us his overrated list, his top 10 overrated list of all time. But this was any sport. He was picking football, basketball, RC.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I guess just being on that list, if it's, that's a privilege, just to be even on that list. And I thought it was just for RC people.
Yeah, he was, it's like, Tim Tebow and, Dwight Howard, that's the list. And then, but Gotti might have the clip.
Yeah, I can play that for the listeners here that might not know what we're talking about. Here we go.
I got Adam Drake, number 7.
Ooh.
Listen, I'm going to say this. Adam Drake, he got out of electric and he took, nitro. He jumped on the nitro bandwagon at the right time, when none of the really, really, really fast guys were running nitro, and he would win all these races. I can't even believe he's still relevant to this day, to be honest with you. You get a lot of comments too. Him and Rhonda, like if they had a child, it'd be like this super RC child. I think he's a C-mainer at best, with that kind of bean pool going on there. So, that's just my thought on that.
Whoa.
That's pretty awesome.
How do you respond to that?
When does he want to race?
What you should say is, I heard he's a C-main lover at best.
Yeah. Hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's not the first time I've heard it. Probably not the last.
Well, when you won the Nationals, Matt contacted me right away, and he said, "Hey, is there any way you could edit that out of the show?"
Yeah, he's
that's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, my list.
Well, sorry, I disappointed him.
Yeah, I was like, man, he's won like 3 times, right? Oh yeah, what?
That's pretty awesome.
How much time you have, Adam?
Oh, I'm fine with whatever.
Okay.
Whatever you guys need.
Let me just bounce around here. Ethan Stiff, what's the first thing you do when you get back to the pits after a race? And then somebody underneath him says, he turn marshals, duh.
I would say the first thing is just try to reflect on the run. What things were good, what things were bad. What changes you want to make. I see guys a lot of times. They come back to the pits and got to go smoke a cigarette and do everything else. Well, I mean, for me, while it's fresh on my mind, I want to come back and kind of check my lap times, look at the sheets, and just kind of reflect on the run. What things could I have done better? What things were good, and I would say that's pretty much it. Just kind of reflect on the run and try to get my ideas and plan of attack for the next qualifier.
Carlos, we have, oh my God, I don't know how to pronounce these last names. I'm terrible at pronouncing last names, and our listeners have the longest last names or ones I just can't even word out. But anyway, Carlos, he says, when you're gluing your tires, I notice some people, they make 2 little holes 180 degrees apart. Usually these holes are made in the center of the tire contact patch. I recently saw a photo of year 3.0 where your air vent holes were almost all the way to the tire's sidewall. Have you noticed a difference in performance versus center vent holes?
I wouldn't say it's a performance difference. I just sometimes, especially when I run like a smaller pin tire, or if it's a long main, I'll vent it on the outside, just because the center of the tire always wears the fastest, and the outside generally you always have pin left, so I'll just punch it on the outside, or if you pull the tires out of the package, it's just easier to punch it on the outside. And then the other thing is, with the TLR wheels, we have a vent hole in the wheel, so it already vents the tire already, but sometimes you'll get a little bit of dust and dirt in the vent hole in the wheel, and then that dust and dirt travels around the sidewall of the tire, and it can basically get removed from the tire faster instead of having to travel all the way around to the center. But as far as performance goes, no real advantage or disadvantage.
Lathan asks, when do you know a platform is obsolete and time to start working on a new one?
I mean, for one, you try to have you want to have not too long of a life cycle, because people get basically bored with what you've got. But also just as tracks or times change, your competition, I would say, slightly dictates that a little bit. If someone comes out with something that's just really good and, making it really difficult to beat, it kind of makes you work a little bit harder, or kind of push to, get products out quicker. But for us, we generally have a kind of a common life cycle with our products. We want to come out with stuff, to keep the consumers interested, and so it's a balance. So you don't want to come out with too much new stuff to where they feel like they're always having to buy a new car every year, but you also want to keep it fresh and exciting. But if a platform's still working well and you're able to just kind of make some small hop up and still be competitive and win races, you can always extend it a little bit.
That kind of leads to the question I had. I was just thinking was, when you're at these races, obviously, I was thinking about this before, and when you've been either sponsored or supported by somebody for so long that you already know what car you're going to use, or that you're using the TLR. What car out there on the nitro scene do you always watch that is either impressive, or if you didn't have any affiliation with TLR, that you'd consider running?
It's hard to say, because it to me it kind of depends on the area. In Europe, the Mugen car is obviously really strong. Tends to perform well, but in the U.S., it's a very popular car, but they don't have many top level guys to probably show its true potential. But it's obviously a good car. A lot of consumers run it. But to me, when I'm at a race, it's not that I'm necessarily looking, at a specific brand or watching. It's more of, watching who's going fast that weekend, whether it's Ty, Dakota, Ryan, Jared. It's more of just, it doesn't matter which brand it is. It's whatever's going fast that weekend. That's what you're, paying attention to, and seeing what you can learn or notice anything that they've maybe changed, from the last race that's working to their advantage.
RC Life Megan asks, what would be your ideal place to practice, test, tune, and race?
I do a lot of testing at Thunder Alley. It's an awesome facility. It's fairly close for us here. I also test a lot at Proline's test track, and also Revelation. I guess I couldn't really say one specific place is ideal, because when you're developing products, you need to try them at so many different tracks and under so many different conditions to make sure that the customers who end up getting the end product are happy with it in all conditions. But I just enjoy racing in general, and any track's good with me. But I am supposed to give a plug about the Rev It Up weekend that I'm coming to in Tallahassee, the weekend of September 28th and 29th. I got an email earlier asking if I could give a plug for that. So looking forward to coming to Florida and racing with everyone, and should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Looks like a really nice track. We're going to have a summer tour event there, but we got rained out. But I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, the driver stand and facility looks really, really nice. Looking forward to it.
Matt Peterson asks, what's your favorite race?
Favorite race, that would either be, I enjoy every race, but I think probably my favorite would be the Dirt Nitro Challenge, just because it's the first race of the year. It's the kickoff race. It reminds me of the Winter Champs back in the day in Florida. There's just a lot of hype and anticipation. Some guys have switched teams or, running a different engine or running different tires, and you don't really know what guys have done in the off season. So to me, that's probably the most exciting race, but, as far as prestige, the Roar Nationals is always up there. And Neo Buggy is also a great race, but I would probably say the Dirt Nitro Challenge would be the one that kind of has the most excitement, just because it's kickoff, major race of the year for Nitro.
I was thinking about something one day that really I was going to confirm with you about, but we talked about earlier that she had already won, 3 Roar Nationals in 8-scale buggy. But what I was wondering is I couldn't remember if you had been in the main at the Worlds, and I wanted to say it was no, and if you're...
Yeah, I have. I've made the Worlds final in both 8-scale Nitro and also 10-scale two-wheel drive.
What 8-scale Worlds were you at?
Thailand?
Okay. Oh, I didn't even know you went to Thailand. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Thailand I qualified, I think, 3rd and finished 7th.
Okay, yeah. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
It was, was Fisher qualified 4th or 5th? You guys were really close.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, good. Check that off the list.
Rodney in New York wants to know, what do you do with all your trophies?
We actually we gather a bunch of them, like here in the office, and there's a local trophy company that we donate them to, and then they basically recycle them and use them for like Special Olympics and other types of events like that. They basically break them down, whatever parts are common parts that they can reuse. Obviously with plaques and stuff like that, you can't really do it. I mean, a number of the plaques and stuff I keep, or if I'm at a race and there's a young kid, wants an autograph or something, I'll sign the trophy and give it to him. But the major race wins, obviously hang on to those and keep them. And some of the smaller races, hang on to them. It seems like you hang on to it, and then when it's time to clean the garage, it's like, do I really need this? And it sucks and it's sad to say, but when you've been racing a long time, you end up with a bunch of trophies that are just taking up space. So, if I can, I'll sign them and give them away, or the really special ones I'll keep.
You already threw away that Thailand one.
No, it's actually, I do have that, but it's kind of buried.
Where'd you put the Nationals trophy recently?
I actually have, there's basically in the house, there's nothing RC except one little area. The garage is jam-packed with RC stuff everywhere. I have so many of my old cars and trophies and stuff like that all around kind of the border, top edge of the garage. But in the house, it's basically no RC except when you walk in the entryway, up above that, there's like a little tile area. And then the second floor of our house, there's kind of like a little walkway that overlooks the entryway into the front door on one side and then living room on the other. But it's basically like a little bridge. And then on top of the entryway, there's a little tile area, like I said, and I have a few of like, most important trophies, Neo Buggy, Roar Nationals, my Reedy truck race from '99, first major race I ever won, and then all my cars from like the Nationals and stuff like that. So it's a little, probably, I don't know, 4 by 8 foot area that you don't really see unless you're coming down the stairs, from upstairs, but I have a little special area for them.
So nothing in the house, though. Interesting.
People don't know, but Adam actually bought Kobe Bryant's old house over in California.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Cool. Damn.
We're still in negotiations. I haven't signed all the papers yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Okay, another question I had was, you guys, people have been asking me this at the races, with the Associated releasing the classic RC10, have you guys ever considered any classic vehicles from the Lofi days?
I mean, we've talked about it, especially with, Associated doing it, but I think it's a cool thing that they're doing, but, as far as the amount of work and effort that would have to go into it versus the return, it's just one of those things that, I don't know if I don't know if we would ever do that. We have talked about it, but I don't see that happening. The RC10 had such a huge following. I mean, it was pretty much a household name, kind of like the T-Max, of today, which, we've had a lot of successful vehicles in the early days as well. But, and I think that there are a number of people that, would be into it and buy it, but enough to dig out the old molds and go about doing it, I don't think so. Not with, how many of the newer and current platforms that we're working on. I don't see that happening.
Always working to improve, and what's the phrase again? We're always testing and developing new products.
We'd have to change it to always testing old product, always testing and developing old product.
I was testing with and coming out with old and discontinued products.
Yeah.
And then my last question is that I had written down was, how in the hell do you get such good gas mileage?
It's an ancient Chinese secret.
I mean, without giving anything away, over time, what have you determined makes the difference in that area? Are you talking anyway, engine, clutch, pipes, fuel?
I mean, it's a combination of everything, and that's something that's, I think, a lot of times hard for people to understand. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just he never pulls full throttle, or but it ends up being just a combination of everything. I mean, having the right clutch setup, having an engine that, provides enough power to where you're able to drive more efficiently. The fuel helps a lot. Our vehicle helps a lot, our drivetrain. I mean, it's a combination of everything. I mean, the Novorossi engines obviously, provide really good runtime, the nitratane fuel, and then just our vehicle. But I mean, I wish that there almost was some secret that, when I'm done racing, I could sell off to people, but it's just kind of a combination of everything. I mean, it's funny because a lot of people will comment like, oh, he runs a 4 mil restrictor. And I mean, that's not the case. Like, one of the things it's kind of funny is, I think it was at like Sidewinder last year, Mayfield had commented like, man, have you changed something with your engines? Like, before your stuff was always slow and now you have like really good power. And a lot of that was right around the time when we were testing and developing the 3.0. And with the 3.0, I needed more power. The engines that I ran previously ran good, but my fuel mileage got quite a bit worse, just because I was having to drive deeper in the trigger. So I actually worked with Novarossi and started using engines that in the past maybe wouldn't have had as good a fuel mileage, because they were a little overpowered and I would drive out of control. But it's just a combination of everything, and it's just having a power and power band that is enough power to do all the jumps and have enough speed to where you don't have to overdrive your car. And then the package of, the fuel and drivetrain and everything else.
There's people that have told me before, they're like, well, if you look at his car, it looks like it's hard to drive.
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
I started to get the point of, you said people sometimes say, look at his cars, they look hard to drive.
Yeah, like you're not, like you can't drive very far into the trigger because your car is generating a lot of power, and then you're not driving very hard. But I mean, when I watch, I don't really see that. Like, to me, it seems like it'd be tough to drive like that, especially winning the nationals. Would you consider your stuff hard to drive?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think that I necessarily drive as hard as some other people, but I mean, you look at Ty Tessman. I mean, he's, to me, one of the smoothest guys out there, but doesn't get exceptionally good fuel mileage. I mean, he's not that he gets bad fuel mileage, but he's kind of right on par with everybody else.
Everybody else.
But again, he runs a different engine, a different car. We do run the same fuel. I would be curious to see if I just handed my car to Ty, what his fuel mileage would be. Versus what his lap times are. I think he would be able to still be within that box of competitive lap times, but have better fuel mileage than what he has, with his car and engine. But some of it's how I drive or how I pull the trigger, but it's more than anything, it's just the total package of stuff that I run. Because I remember years ago when I ran for Trinity and ran the Pico engines and Trinity fuel and stuff like that, I always had good power, everything was good, but I never had as good a fuel mileage as everyone else. And there was a number of races that I lost because of that or ran out of gas. And so I kind of learned that, hey, wait, this is pretty important. Like, I need to figure out, how to make this better. And, some of the products that I use have changed, but also, I've learned to drive and run a clutch setup that engages a little bit smoother so the engine's not over revving as much and burning as much fuel. And, but if I hand my car to other people, it's not like it's going to be broken and so much different that, how does he drive this? It's, years ago, we were at the Dirt Nitro Challenge when it was still in Hemet, and, Brian Kinwald was on the team. This was gas truck days. And, Brian had his set ways of, he ran an unsprung clutch. He ran no pressure line. He ran just pretty much the complete opposite setup with his engines from what I ran. He ran slide carb. I ran rotary. I run a sprung clutch. His was unsprung. I ran pressure. He ran no pressure. And, that's what worked for Brian. That was good. Well, Brian ended up breaking in warm-up of a qualifier, and I was in the next race and was standing there warming my stuff up. And I'm like, do you want to just drive my truck? And this was, I don't know, 99, 2000, something like that. And today that wouldn't fly, but back then it was like, okay, we'll just drag and drop and, you run Adam's truck. And Brian went out and TQ'd the round, and he's like, I never would have thought your stuff would have drove and felt like that. Like, everything that I don't like is what you run, but yet the way you set your linkage and the way it all comes about, it really wasn't that much different. And I think it would be the same way if I handed someone, my car today.
Good. Good to know.
Just tell him, Adam. It's a slightly larger gas tank.
Yeah, I get that all the time too. Oh, he runs a truggy tank, and I'm like, okay, well, how's that? Pass tech. It's funny because at all the major races where they check tanks, because I know, people are basically looking for that. He's got to be running a bigger tank. Like, I generally always make it a point to make sure I'm way undersized with my fuel capacity, because the last thing I want to do is be standing around, at the Nationals or Nitro Challenge and, well, he's over by a CC, we got to let it cool down, and people going, yep, I told you, see, that's why he gets the fuel mileage, and
that's where he gets the extra 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was kind of funny this year. They had teched Mike's car, Cody's car, and my car, and Cody and I passed right away, and then Mike's car they had to let cool down, and then people are they going to DQ? It's like you just don't want to deal with that. So for me, the extra 10 or 12 seconds of runtime you're going to get from a little extra fuel line, it's not worth it. So.
All right, we got a caller on the line. Caller, state your name and where you're from.
John Bernard Jr. calling from rainy Jacksonville, Florida. How's it going?
John Bernard, what's up?
Hey, man. How many questions am I allowed?
Go ahead. Run through them quick.
Well, let's see. First question. Did Kirby show up?
No, of course not.
Of course.
Next question.
Next question. God knows, I'm actually sitting here building a car myself, and I was wondering, as often as you race at them, how often are you rebuilding your car, and then how often are you actually building yourself a new car?
I actually don't like building complete brand new kit. I pretty much just rebuild. I have a couple cars with how much I travel and stuff like that. That way, if I have back-to-back races and don't have time to rebuild, I can run a different car. But it kind of depends on the size of the race. Obviously for Nationals, Nitro Challenge, Silver State, pretty much completely rebuild the car to start the week for a race like that. But as far as for like JBRLs and Psycho Nitro Blast and more regional type races, just pretty much clean it off, check, make sure, there's no bearings that are getting gritty, fresh diff fluid, things like that. I do quite a bit of maintenance, just more as preventative, just, checking things over and making sure, nothing's tweaked or bent or anything like that. But everyone's different. Mike Trury, for example, I think he would kind of prefer or rather just run his car till it's done and then, build a brand new kit. But for me, I just kind of replace parts as I go or as I need, fresh arms or something like that.
Cool. And I guess my next question is, obviously you've been doing this for a very long time, and I think Jason's actually answered this before. How or where was the strangest place that someone recognized you?
We were actually at the airport. I don't remember where it actually was, but someone recognized me, asked if they could take a picture with me, and asked me to sign something. We were sitting in like the food court, eating pizza or whatever. And the funny thing about it was there was like an older lady there, and she was asking the person who was taking the picture, who is that guy? Should I get my picture taken with him too? Like, is he someone famous? And I'm just like laughing, like, I'm not someone famous. Like, trust me, you don't want your picture taken with me. And that just made her even more like, well, hold on. Well, let me just get my picture taken. Like, she didn't even know who I was, but because someone else wanted their picture taken with me, she wanted her picture taken with me. So that was probably the strangest place. Or strangest thing, I should say. Not necessarily strangest place, but.
That's crazy.
And I guess, let's see, I've been doing this a long time, and you've definitely been doing it way longer than me. There are many occasions where I get up and I know I have to have a good run. do you still get nervous ever, or do you shake before, after? Do you ever get those jitters during a race?
I think everyone gets some, from time to time. I think as you do it, the more you do it, the more you're kind of in your zone, or, you're just focused on the task at hand. But I think everyone still, from time to time, gets the jitters or a little bit nervous. I would say more so like, when you need a run or you've made a bunch of changes and you're not totally sure on the direction you went. But once you're on the stand and there's nothing you can really do at that point except, do the best that you can do, you just kind of deal with it and make the best of it.
Cool. Let's see. Just two more. I'm not going to take up your whole show. But you do travel a lot. You're pretty much probably somewhere different every weekend. Have you ever forgotten where you were?
I haven't forgotten where I'm at, but there has been a number of times where people are like, "Oh, how'd it go last weekend?" And I'm like, "Where was I last weekend?" But no, I don't. I've never forgotten where I'm at. But a lot of times when it's, back-to-back races, and then in between all the races, being in the office and, trying to send call tags from the last race and send stuff out for the next race, it can get a little bit hectic. And, it's when I have a bunch of races coming up, it's like you have to look ahead, and check your calendar and stuff, but you also don't want to look too far ahead and get overwhelmed. But yeah, sometimes I may lose track of time or where I was at, but not where I'm at the current time.
Jason will like this. Have you ever used VRC?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
I actually, like right after they announced the off-road stuff, I went on their site to order it. Not that I really have the time where I would probably be able to use it much, but I watched some of the little videos and stuff, and I know David Jor and a few guys are like really big into it, and I'm like, that would kind of be fun, but no, I haven't actually played it.
Yeah, I use it frequently enough that I don't use it that often, but if I get a buddy on there, that's when it's more fun for us. But
oh, for sure.
Yeah, and it's weird. Sometimes you'll come across names like I've seen Ryan. What's his name? Like in the program, I've never actually seen him in a game. But when you see names like yours, I'm sure people would be even more excited to say, "Oh, I ran with Adam at Silver Dollar."
Yeah.
They're sitting in Germany somewhere or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to add one more just so Gotti has something to add later on. How often do you practice?
I generally try to run Tuesday and Thursday night after work, and then I run every weekend. But that also depends on my travel schedule. Like the last 6 weeks or so, I've pretty much been on the road. So fly home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm rebuilding and cleaning up my stuff. And then I'm back on the road Thursday or Friday. So I haven't been practicing as much during the week as what I do normally. But my normal deal is to head out either a couple hours early from work or after work and then go practice Tuesday and Thursday night.
We talking about practice, man. How silly is that?
Right on cue.
There you go, John.
Nice. I don't know.
Anything else, John?
I could keep going, but I think you had a pretty nice truck, right, Adam?
What's that?
You have a pretty nice truck, right?
Yeah, I also have a really beat-up truck.
Oh, okay. Well, that used to be something I used to do for a career a long time ago. So my last and final question for you would be hydraulics or airbags?
I don't have either.
No, what would you
Probably airbags, just because my buddy has hydraulics, and it seems like a compressor or hose or something's always leaking, or maybe he's just not a very good mechanic, but
oh no,
it just doesn't seem as reliable.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for answering my questions.
No problem. Anytime.
And make sure you tell them everything about that new car.
Yeah, will do.
Thanks, Don. We're always testing and developing new products.
Yeah, thanks for letting us call into the show. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, we're testing this out today. This is the first time. We had some hiccups, but it's going pretty good.
Okay, well, make sure you get Matt on the phone.
Well, we did. We played his soundbite for Adam.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you'll hear it on the show tomorrow. Thanks, John.
All right, guys, you take care.
Yep. See ya.
One of our 10 listeners, John Bernard, big fan of the show from the very beginning. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks for the question. That was good.
So, Jason, you have anything else for Adam?
I think that's it. Other than congratulations on all the success, the nationals, TLR doing super well. Guys, got almost all the Roar titles this year. So, good luck to you, and I'm sure I'll see you here pretty soon.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, and pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you guys having me on, and anytime in the future, I'd love to do it again.
Sweet, great. You want to give a shout out to anybody out there?
Just all my sponsors: TLR, Novarossi, Proline, Spectrum, High Tech, Upgrade, Lungsford. Just everyone that's helped me over the years, and just super happy to be able to still doing what I love and being a part of this awesome hobby.
Well, thanks for being on the show, Adam. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and we look forward to having you on again for sure.
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.